Before we start with analysis of the compromise itself, let's start with a few side notes. Hungarian side of dual monarchy called the entire Hungarian part Hungary, but national minorities in that side of Austro-Hungary referred to it as land of Saint Stephen, making distinction between all those lands combined and territories mostly inhabited by Hungarians. Also, capital of Hungarian part of the empire was city of Pest up until 17th of November 1873, after the unification of Buda, Óbuda and Pest into Budapest. Revolutionary 1848 and aftermath. The main focus of Hungarian foreign policy was legalities and dependencies of Austria toward Hungary. Since the armed rebellion of 1703 to 1711, nor the political dialogues had any effect, Hungarians waited patiently their moment. The moment came in the 1830s, when Hungary started introducing liberal reforms while also forming a will for its own national state. However, minorities in Hungary did not look upon that with approval, and often sided with Vienna. The escalation of the crisis happened in March of 1848, when Emperor revoked a set of laws that were meant to modernize Hungary a month before. However, that caused an open rebellion, with only one goal in sight: creating a Hungarian independent state. In 1849, the rebellion was crushed. However, from the ruins of rebellion, a new modern Hungarian nation was born. During the revolution in late 1848, new 18-year-old emperor descended to the throne. He introduced the so-called neo-absolutism, more famous as Bach's absolutism. In 1861, after Hungarian parliament rejected all proposed documents that tried to normalize and redefine relations between Vienna and Pest, Emperor introduced transition period under Anton von Schmetterling. Through lobbying in the highest circles of the country, Vienna and Pest finally reached an understanding about their desires. They came to the conclusion that in 1723 Hungary accepted pragmatic sanction, which states that they will stay a part of unified country with one ruler and obligation to defend the country. So that way the country can be divided administratively internally, but on the outside it would still be one country. Emperor and Hungarian government reach agreement that Emperor will be crowned king of Saint Stephen lands, because that was the only way to give him legitimacy to rule over those lands. But it was also a symbolic gesture. The Hungarians also crowned the Empress Elizabeth to be the queen as a symbol of good gesture on their part, and the emperor gave amnesty to all participants of the 1848 rebellion. The Austro-Hungarian Compromise. The compromise was ratified by both parliaments, Austrian and Hungarian. The compromise states that Austro-Hungary, even though it's dual monarchy, is one united and indivisible country. Unity of the country was reduced to only the most important issues, those being foreign relations, military, and finances, to finance these joint ministries. All the other policies were given to governments of Austrian and Hungarian part of the empire. The emperor saved the integrity of his empire and denounced getting involved in internal issues of Hungary, and Hungary gained broad autonomy but had no saying in international matters on her own. The country had one ruler, who was Austrian emperor and Hungarian king, and two centers of power, Vienna and Budapest. The three joint ministries were under supervision of delegations from both parliaments, consisting of 120 members, each parliament sending 60 members, and all ties were settled by emperor. According to compromise, Hungary was a constitutional monarchy with its own government, council ministry, and bicameral parliament. They also concluded that Hungary would participate in joint expenses by covering 30%, but there will be a new financial compromise every 10 years. The name of the newly reformed country was not agreed upon in the Compromise of 1867. However, due to international needs, the emperor decided that the country will be referred to as Austro-Hungarian monarchy or Austro-Hungarian Empire. The emperor's jurisdictions were as follows. He was commander-in-chief, and he decided on all matters of organization and functions of the army. He was the one declaring war and peace, appointing head of Austrian and Hungarian government and all the ministries. He had to approve all the drafts before being sent to parliament. He also had power of veto and power of dismissing the parliament. The foreign minister was the head of joint government that consisted of finance minister and ministry of war. It was unwritten rule that foreign minister and finance minister could not be from the same part of dual monarchy. Austro-Hungarian war ministry was formed immediately for the large common army, but it had no right to command directly the smaller Austrian Landwehr and Hungarian Honved armies. Each side of the empire was looking for its own interests and often disregarding the greater good of the country. That led to constitutional crisis in the early 20th century. Even though the Compromise of 1867 was criticized by oppositions in both sides of the empire, the truth is Hungary got most of its demands fulfilled.